I'd like to welcome you all back. So I have with me Ruthie Miller, and Ruthie is kind of like a hybrid interview because she is single divorced, but she's also a very, very interesting, colorful character. So I would love if you shared with the audience a little bit about yourself, and then we're going to jump into the topic of this conversation, which is what flaws do you find in the singles world? What opinions do you have? What do you think could be done to improve what you see? Hi.
Hi, thank you for having me, first of all. You might hear my dog fetching in the background, but he just hears other dogs outside, so I apologize for that.
No worries.
Um, yeah, so I was married for 13 years, and now I've been divorced for 7. I have 4 kids, and yeah, what else would you like to know about me?
Well, don't you do like comedy or lecturing, or you have a couple of things under your
I
belt?
have got a lot of things on the go. So I am a registered nurse. I am a realtor and a real estate investor, and I also do stand-up comedy as a hobby.
Right.
Yeah. It's a
Very
lot. I
cool.
know it's a lot.
Is
Yeah.
it challenging to do comedy sitting down too, or you have to stand up?
Yeah, yeah, it's only stand up. Yeah, you're not allowed to sit. Actually, that's not true. Sometimes people do sit to do stand up, which yeah, very good, very
That's
clever.
confusing. Okay, I figured I was entitled to a dad joke.
Yes, yeah. My favorite. Seriously, my favorite. I love
Me
dad
too.
jokes.
I think they're brilliant. Every time I make a joke, people are like, "Oh, great, a dad joke," and I'm like, "Yes, yes."
My daughter,
So,
my youngest, is upset that her father doesn't make dad jokes. It's like, how
oh
can
my
you be a
god,
dad and not make dad jokes?
oh my god, that's terrible. We have to speak to this man. Tell
Yeah.
her to tune into my channel every Tuesday. Like for example, the other day I asked a very simple question: why is it that you never see an elephant hiding in a tree? Because they're very good at it. But anyways,
Okay.
we need to talk a little bit about the singles world. What are your feelings? What are your passions? What are you really annoyed about that you would love to change? And now you have the floor. Let's discuss it.
Oh, I mean, I don't, having the power to change things would be lovely. I do think that a lot of the problems with, at least in the secular world, is that the online dating, it doesn't work. But the problem is, especially in, I guess, North America, online dating, it doesn't work. But what are you going to do? Like in-person speed dating? I mean, what's the alternative, right? It's hard. Online dating, I mean, how do you trust people, right? I mean, they're often strangers. I mean, how do you trust anybody ever, really? But
Right.
so that's, I find, one of the biggest flaws. It's a very big world, right? And then online dating also, you end up with just, there's too much selection, right? Whether
Right.
it's for men or for women. And then you have no idea that, I mean, the men and women are dating multiple people at a time, right? And then there's no commitment. So there's a lot of issues there for sure. I mean, I wanted to start a speed dating thing here once, never took off. I don't know how cool speed dating sounds. It kind of sounds a bit nerdy. So,
Oh,
yeah.
you could change the cliche about it.
Yeah, we'll make it cool.
Yeah, I think that what you're saying about online dating is very valid. And when I was divorced, what I really wanted to do was make, like the famous cheer saying, a place where everyone knows your name. I wanted
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
make a spot, go back to old school, like when we were kids and there was a pool hall, or there was a spot on Shabbos afternoon, or there were just places where you didn't even have to plan. Everybody, you just knew that was the spot. And now there's like there's nowhere like that. A little bit in Manhattan if you have certain, preclusions, like to salsa dancing or whatever, you could find locations. But just like a place where you walk in and it's not full of just like 20 something year old clubbing kids, and just a fun place to chill, meet a guy. Maybe it'll be a friend, maybe he'll be your next boyfriend or whatever. I agree with you. That would be so nice. And hi, whoever that is.
Yeah, we have a child in the background.
Hi, child.
That's the
Cool.
problem when you have four kids. There's no spot in the entire house where you can have a conversation and not get interrupted, especially in the summer when they're off school.
No
Yeah.
worries.
Welcome
I
to my
think
world.
it's awesome. You know what? It's all good. Like all of it is good. Um, so you were saying that this the world, it's too big, and I agree. It's crazy. I used to have a dating site, and I finally finished building my dating site right before they came out with the whole swipe thing. And I was like, oh my God, this is brilliant. This thing is like 3% of the energy of what it takes to make a real dating site. And who really needs the ability to find somebody in China? Like, you can marry your neighbor. Like, there's so many people within your vicinity, you know? So, but what else? Go ahead.
Yeah.
I'm listening.
Oh, no, I'm just looking at my daughter trying to tell her to not make noise taking stuff out of the fridge, but I don't know if she's gonna appreciate that. No, I was gonna say that dating as a single mother is definitely a challenge. Like that's well, okay. I have my kids here full time, and this obviously doesn't apply to the whole world. This is a unique situation, but I think as more and more people do get divorced, more and more people have children in, as part of their life, things are it's a lot more complicated, right? You can't the second what do they call Zivug Shani, right? Like a second second
The
match.
second match, right?
Um, so it is hard. I've got the kids, and I'm not going to introduce someone to my kids unless I've known them for several months. But then where do you go to date, right? Where I can't bring anyone home for months. So that's a different, but that's, unique to my situation, probably.
That is a good point.
Yeah.
And I can't stand when people say, "Oh, you come with a package," because everybody has a package, and it's just
Yeah.
part of life. Would you rather date somebody who was married and has children? Would you rather date somebody who hasn't been married and so she doesn't have children? Not to knock single ladies. I am way too smart to challenge anybody. I'm just saying that the key is that when you date somebody who has kids, you have to fall in love with them too. That's the only way it'll work. And there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, there are plenty of men out there that are a perfect fit, a perfect match, and they would love to have children. It's just when you fall in love with the mother and not with the kids, I think that's when it gets sticky because you have a problem. But it's not a package. I really just never saw it that way.
Yeah. Yeah. I sometimes make a joke on stage. I said, I have a lot of baggage, and it's not Louis Vuitton. So
That's funny. But at least you could send them out to work. You can't turn Louis Vuitton into slave labor. So
there you go. Right. That's why we have children, so that they can work and we can later on retire and rely on them. Right.
you got one up. Yeah.
Yeah.
So what else? What else is on your mind?
Um, oh, well, I think it's interesting. So having been, I guess, Orthodox before and now not, I do sometimes compare the shidduch system, the matchmaking system, with the, again, online dating or the secular world. It's that I think in many ways it does simplify things, right? Like I kind of do wish someone would come along and say, hey, here's your perfect match. Mind you, even with matchmaking, it doesn't happen like that. But um, I think it does simplify things. And I think it makes it easier for a lot of people. It's interesting, though, because in the shidduch system, well, do you want me to talk about this?
Whatever
Like
you want to talk about. I'm a huge
yeah.
fan. I always said they should come out with a restaurant for men called the Man Restaurant and just offer three things: chicken, meat, fish. That's it. I can't stand options. And
Yeah.
same thing with dating. Like, you really don't need to be dating a gazillion people. And then you start finding, like, you probably hear your friends saying the most bizarre things. Well, she was nice, but she was a little short. Like, are you crazy? If you found the woman of your dreams and she's, I don't know, whatever, 5'2" instead of 5'5" or some kind of nonsense, Like, really? Are you serious? So yeah, options breed issues.
Yeah, I think they call it the paradox of choice, right? When you have too many options, it actually
Yeah,
limits your ability to make the choices. Yeah, makes it harder
yeah,
to make decisions when there's too many options.
I agree.
So there's definitely that. And yeah, I think also women these days, especially women these days, I think one of the issues in the world in general is that as if I don't know how to say this. Women are independent. And as women become more and more independent and don't need men, there's more and more men out there who can't find a partner because now we get to be picky. Like in history, it was always a woman couldn't work, right? So she'd have to find a man to for financial reasons, right? Otherwise she wouldn't survive. And now we don't have that anymore due to, the feminist movement, women in the workforce. Women don't need men anymore to survive. I mean, it took me a long time to integrate that philosophy with myself. I don't need a man, right? I'm independent. I'm a nurse. I make my own income. And it took me a while to realize I don't need a man in my life. I don't need a Prince Charming to come along and provide for me because I'm doing it myself, right? And I think that's
Right.
become an issue. So it's like, where do men fit in, right? Are they just
And they say that once women figure out how to breed without men, they're going to kill us all out. We're done. Like, what could we possibly be useful for?
Yeah.
You make good points, and there's a lot of challenges and not always all the answers, but we have to be aware and keep our minds open.
Yeah. Yeah. So I don't know
So,
how to fix the problems. Maybe I
but
will
it's good
start a
to
speed
pinpoint
dating
them.
party. Sorry.
Yeah, I said it's good to pinpoint them. That's already,
Yeah.
like I grew up to GI Joe. Knowing is half the battle. It's an important
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
But you like this speed dating thing. I think you should pursue it, and I think you should take something that you saw as not necessarily being so cool and make it cool. If we were ever living in a time where everything else is awkward, the one thing we have going for us is that anything goes. And I think you should go for it. Why not?
Make like a dating party.
Yeah. But anyways, thank you so so much for joining me and for your thoughts and your input. And thank you.
Thank you for having me. That was fun.